Patch 14.21 has brought forth a bunch of new strong picks as we've now got Teemo thriving in the jungle, bot lane Corki is back, and the ADC meta is as diverse as it's been in a long time. So in today's video, we'll be providing you guys with a complete update on all these new meta trends, along with the solo queue tier list for every single role. And are you sick of losing games from bad teammates? Well, at SkillCapped, we turn your frustrating losses into satisfying wins. Take our brand new Season 14 courses that teach you the secrets to winning as top laner, jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support. Then pair that with our other new courses on how to counter OP top and mid laners, master your jungle clears, or check out our new Bronze to Diamond series. We even have new Season 14 courses on macro, wave control, trading, settings and hotkeys, CSing, vision, mechanics, low elo mistakes, and the list goes on. Then head over to our Smurf commentaries. Simply select the champion you want to master and get guides from challenger experts teaching how to play your champion in the exact rank you're stuck in. You're even guaranteed to have all your questions answered by that very same challenger expert. Our service really does work. That's why we offer a rank up guarantee. If you don't rank up while actively using SkillCapped, you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below right now to get the rank you've always dreamed of. So even though there were a ton of changes to top laners for this patch, our pre-patch predictions have played out pretty well, so we don't have a ton of movement for the role midway through the patch. OP tier will remain the same with Shen leading the way. However, Malphite is right behind him after his buff from this patch. The Teemo buff has been a little bit more impactful than what we were expecting, so he's going to get moved up one tier, going from B into A. We were spot on with predicting that Camille would be the champ hurt the most by 14.21, as her nerfs have led to around a 3% drop in win rate. We had moved Camille down into the A tier for pre-patch, and we like that position for her after seeing exactly how the nerfs have played out. In the pre-patch tier list, we noted how we weren't exactly sure how hard the Gwen nerf would hit her, but now with the patch being live for a few days, it looks like the change has actually been quite big. Gwen's passive damage is what got nerfed, and it's led to her win rate dropping almost 3%, which is definitely more than we were anticipating. Even though the nerf did look small on paper, you have to take into account that Gwen's passive is going to be proccing on every single auto attack, so that's where the nerf does substantially add up over time. So Gwen is definitely not looking like a very strong top lane pickup anymore, as we'll be moving her from S into B tier. Moving up in priority as a jungler for this patch, and actually winning even more than top lane, is Teemo. This makes a lot of sense because the movement speed buff to Teemo's W helps him way more as a jungler than it does as a top laner. The added movement speed is huge to help Teemo maneuver around the map faster, finish his clear a bit quicker, and just stick onto targets better so that his ganks are more successful. Build for Teemo jungle is going to consist of a Nashor's Tooth Rush into Liandry's second and Malignant's third. For the rune page, you've got options, but Press the Attack is outperforming Dark Harvest. PTA with Triumph, Alacrity, and Cutdown followed by Free Boots and Cosmic Insight is Teemo jungle's optimal rune setup. As for Teemo jungle's tier list placement, we're going to be adding him into the jungle S tier for 14.21. So for the complete jungle tier list, there's not a whole lot of shuffling going on for mid-patch. Nocturne, Kha'Zix, and Jarvan will continue to lead the way as three of the strongest solo queue junglers. We do have a few more minor adjustments for mid-patch, which include Gwen, Brand, and Volibear all moving into the B tier, while Fiddle drops down to A. Gwen nerfs hurt her not only for top lane, but for jungle as well, and she's been struggling quite a bit now in 14.21. Brand is now one of the worst analytical junglers in the game after his nerfs this patch, and we're still very confused as to why he was even nerfed in the first place, because his win rate and play rate were not even high at all in 14.20. The buffs to lethal tempo and nerfs to Blade of the Ruined King have turned out pretty negligible, as champs like Warwick and Master Yi continue to perform at near identical levels to where they were in 14.20. So mid lane is the role with the most amount of changes that we have to discuss for mid patch, and let's start things off with Swain. It's not looking that great for Swain thus far, as his win rate has dropped a considerable amount after the mini rework. It's gone from around 52% in 14.20 all the way down to 46% in 14.21. It doesn't even really look like people are building him wrong either, as sometimes that's the reason for a reworked champ's poor performance, as Swain is just overall in a weak spot right now. We can probably expect some buffs coming up for 14.22, but until then, it's best to stay away from Swain for solo queue, as we'll be moving him into the mid lane B tier. One of the Wind brothers is on the rise for 14.21, and that champ is Yasuo. So it turns out that with Blade of the Ruined King nerfed for this patch, it's no longer an optimal rush item for Yasuo, as Kraken Slayer is back on the menu. Also, when you consider that Yasuo's crit ratios were just buffed last patch, the Kraken rush has gotten way stronger over the past two patches. Kraken is now winning well over 1% more than Blade as a rush on Yasuo, while it was actually losing more than 1% last patch. So the core build that you should be looking to run for this patch consists of a Kraken rush into Immortal Shield Bow second and Infinity Edge third. It's very rare that Yasuo ends up ranking higher than Yone on the tier list, but with Yone not being able to run Kraken to the same amount of success as Yasuo, the Blade nerf has been more detrimental to Yone, and therefore Yasuo is being moved up into the A tier, while Yone will remain in B. So one set of changes that we definitely underestimated the most for this patch were the buffs to Corki. We were expecting in between a 2 to 4% spike for Corki's win rate due to the buffs, but they brought him up about 6% for 14.21. Buffs aside, there's even a new rune setup that looks to be providing Corki with even more strength, as Conqueror is heavily outperforming Fleet. Here's a look at the full rune page leading to the best results for this patch, as it's Conqueror with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Cut Down, while Biscuits and Jack of all Trades are for secondaries. Build remains the same as always, with Trinity and Manamune as the two core pickups, while Fire Cannon is generally a solid third purchase. So Corki is without question back to being a good solo queue mid and escapes the C tier for this patch after being stuck down there for a long time, as we're moving him up to A. So moving on to the mid lane tier list now, the upper brackets aren't changing much for mid patch, as we still have Sylas, Ahri, and Vex locked in the OP tier. We've already covered the Yasuo, Corki, and Swain adjustments, while Qiyana and Aurelion Sol are two other mids who are being shifted on the tier list for mid patch. Qiyana buffs ended up landing slightly more impactful than what we were expecting, so she's getting a push up one tier going from B into A. Sol nerfs didn't seem too big on paper, but ended up resulting in about a 2% win rate loss for the champ, and we're going to be pushing him down one tier further, going from S into A. Galio, Kassadin, Yone, Azir, and Talon were the other mid laners adjusted for this patch, and their changes have played out as we expected, so there's no further movement for them on the tier list for now. So not only has Corki made his way back into meta as a mid laner, but bot lane Corki is arguably in an even better spot than mid lane for 14.21. It's very interesting because we are seeing quite a difference in build priority for mid and bot right now. The Collector is actually outperforming Trinity Force for bot lane Corki, while Trinity still performs better for mid lane. The logic behind this is that the passive on Trinity Force deals bonus damage that scales off your base AD, and with mid lane Corki, since he's always going to be a higher level than bot lane Corki, he'll always have more base AD, which makes Trinity better for mid lane. Bot lane Corki is going to be more behind in levels due to sharing XP with support, so it gives more value to an item like the Collector. The AD ratio on Corki's R was also increased for this patch, so it does make rushing the Collector and getting more early raw AD a bit stronger. So overall, drop Trinity Force for bot lane Corki and look to run the 2-item core of the Collector with Infinity Edge. Rune page is also going to be different than that of mid lane, as you want to be taking Hail of Blades to really amplify this upfront burst setup. You're not going to be getting any attack speed at all from the Collector or Infinity Edge, but you do get a crazy amount of AD, so by going Hail of Blades, those quick 3 autos are going to melt. So Corki bot lane is definitely the biggest riser of the entire patch, as he wasn't even on the bot lane tier list at all in 14.20, but is being moved up into the OP tier for mid patch. So we've got a new look for the ADC OP tier halfway through the patch, as Corki and Kog'Maw are moving up to join Neela. Kog didn't end up getting hit nearly as hard by the Blade of the Ruined King nerfs as we were expecting, so he gets a push back up for mid patch. Take advantage of Corki's strength while you can, because he's still quite underplayed right now, but it's likely that he doesn't last for long with his current power level. Overall, this is probably the most balanced we've seen the bot lane meta in quite some time for solo queue. Kate is now a great pick again, Xayah is back in a good spot, Aphelios is no longer a C tier pick, and Sivir is now quite strong after her buffs this patch. There's really only 3 champs for ADC right now that are just not really worth playing, and they include Zeri, Kalista, and Smolder. So moving on to support now, we already noted when covering mid lane that Swain has not been performing very well at all for the role, and it's the same thing down in the support role. Now, unlike mid though, there could actually be a build that players are sleeping on right now for support that could bring some added power to the champ. A more tanky build consisting of Rylai's and Unending Despair as core pickups is working really well for Swain support, but not being picked that much just yet. Unending Despair makes a ton of sense for a more tanky build on Swain because the healing that the item provides synergizes really well with all the healing from Swain's kit and turns him into this really beefy front line for his team. Swain loves his drawn out extended fights, so the value from Unending Despair heal is great for Swain as it procs every 5 seconds, so you should be able to get multiple procs off in skirmishes. Solstice Slay will be the item upgrade, Rylai's is the rush, and then you go Unending Despair second. The standard build on Swain with Realm Spike as the item upgrade followed by Rylai's and Liandry's as core items is not winning much at all right now, so if you're going to try out Swain's support this patch, definitely give the Unending Despair setup a go. All in all, Swain's relative power is looking quite weak at this point in time, and there are better support options to choose from, so we will be placing him in the support B tier. So besides Swain's mini rework, the buffs and nerfs that Riot issued to a few other supports didn't really affect their power levels all that much. Senna was hit with a nerf to her armor, and the change has definitely weakened her a bit, but we noted in the pre-patch tier list how Senna's relative power has just been so high as of late that we didn't expect the nerf to be enough to actually reduce her power level a significant amount, and that has been what's played out. So that means OP tier will not be changing for support, as we've still got Senna and Lulu on top. Taric nerf was more of a slight nudge than anything else, as he still remains a very underrated yet strong S tier support. The Brand nerfs were without question the most impactful for the role this patch, and have really solidified Brand as one of the weaker solo queue supports, as we've got him down in the B tier. If you want to play a mage support for 14.21, then Zyra and Vel'Koz are just miles better than Brand now. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So that's gonna wrap everything up for our 14.21 updated tier list. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.